Welcome to an overview of how invoices work in our system. To create an invoice, click here. Select your date range, your term, essentially the due date of the invoice. Check off if you want to include calls or appointments to this invoice, and then create. The invoice will then show in the table below at the top.
The invoice viewer. You'll see here that I have a few invoices and one in draft status. Let's look into this one. So most important to know first off the bat, we have appointments here that are invoiceable, and we have calls here invoiceable as well. Let's start with appointments. You can enter in here to go to the appointment viewer of every specific appointment just by clicking on the ID here. You'll see various info such as the requester name, their account, the date and time, how long it took, the rate, which isn't set for this one, or the calls, but not a big deal currently, and extras. Extras refer to priority or cancellation fees that may be applied if certain circumstances arose. Expenses can be configured by LSC admins. They can be configured by interpreters. It's things like fuel, parking, any fees that you may accrue during your appointment, or getting there or leaving, so forth, and the overall total of how much the appointment costs and how much you're owed as an interpreter. If you don't want to be billed for this specific appointment in this specific invoice, you can detach it here and it will cease to show up, and it's available to be captured by another invoice as long as you create it with the right settings like date and time, include appointments, so forth. You'll see here that if you press the plus sign in some of these, you'll be able to see the extras and expenses details. In this menu, we'll see there's a PO number, terms, when this is due. You can add notes in there, and various other details about this invoice. And calls function pretty much the same way. There's the detach button available for them as well, the ID, the type, whether it was video or audio, and so forth, duration. And you can see the history of this. You'll see that it was created by me at 11:08 on the 14th of November. We can go into the print view screen, and this shows how it looks like when it's printed out. We can send this invoice, and sending it brings it to an LSC admin. It's visible to them. They'll receive a notification about it, and they can, based on what you've sent them here, approve or reject it. We'll get into that a little bit later. You can also void this invoice. This basically frees all these calls and all these appointments for capture by another invoice. And you can also print or download various file types of this invoice. So let's send this invoice. You'll see that it transfers to sent unread status, and you can't edit things anymore. The detach button is gone, etc. You'll see here that this invoice has been approved by an LLC admin and is ready for payment. We don't handle the payment in Boost Lingo. We just merely provide the paperwork and the process. This invoice has been rejected, and so we need to contact our LLC admin, figure out why it was rejected, make the necessary changes, and then we can start the process of sending it and approving it over again.